Now I will start a new topic of design of reinforced concrete foundations. In this lecture series, I will discuss how you can design reinforced concrete foundations. Introduction. Foundations are the structural elements that are used to transfer the structural loads to the soil, giving sufficient margin of safety against its failure without excessive settlement and rotation. Means foundations are provided in the structures to resist the applied loads like dead load, live load, earthquake load. Against what? Foundations are ready to resist the applied load to avoid any failure, foundation failure, any excessive settlement, and rotation means overturning of the foundation. So that is the major definition of foundations or the purpose of the foundations. The loads on columns and walls are concentrated over smaller areas, and the function of foundation is to spread this load over larger areas until it becomes equal to the safe bearing capacity of the soil. Why we provide the spread under the footing? Because the concentration of the load under in the column that is too high. To spread the concentration of the load to the wider area, we provide a foundation under the column to spread that load over the larger portion. Types of footings. There are various types. I will discuss one by one. Footings can be made in various shapes and types depending upon the use and underlying soil characteristics. Strip or wall footings are used under the walls, and these consist of one-way slabs cantilevered out from the bottom of the wall in one or both the lateral directions. Here is the wall, here is a footing pad. So the footing pad will continue, so that's why it is also called the strip footing. Okay, so sometimes to make the efficiency, and this slab will act as a cantilever. So we know the moment in the cantilever is more at the connection near the support and less at the free end. So where the moment less at the free end, we can cut the concrete at that part. So we can also make the strip footing as a stepped wall footing. I will again come back. The wall footing may also be stepped wall footing, where the slab thickness decreases in steps away from the wall. So why we decrease? I have explained. Due to the moment reduction, at less moment at the free end and the major moment at the support end. Next footing type is the isolated column footing. Okay, here is a column, here is a footing pad, so this is isolated footing, or you can say also the spread footing. Here is a tapered. So I have already discussed the moment at near the support means near the junction is more, and at the free end the moment is less. This footing is also designed due to the away from the support as a one way. So that is a tapered spread footing. So the third footing of isolated footing type is a stepped footing. You can also reduce the concrete by this way or by using the slope method. That is a tapered spread footing. Again, that is a corner column footing, and that is the edge column footing. Okay, so we cannot provide this slab of footing to the other side, maybe due to the property restrictions, due to many other reasons. Okay, so similarly corner footing. So these are also types of footings. Here is a isolated column footing for basement. When there is a basement, in the basement definitely there will be concrete slab at the bottom. So the spread footing go and it covered its own thickness, whatsoever the thickness of the needed for the foundation of the isolated footing, that will go in the basement. Okay, so at that part we will increase the thickness of the foundation, and the rest of the basement floor will remain that thickness. For example, that is either 200 millimeter, but the foundation thickness is 600 millimeter. So we have provided the isolated footing in the basement. So that's how we provide the isolated footing in the basements. Two or more columns can have combined footing in the farm. Okay. So foundation beam footing I have explained in the figure here. The two columns are connected with the same foundation. So that is a same foundation slab. So that is a combined footing. And if this combined footing is done just by connecting the smaller part of the slab or maybe smaller element of beam which is connecting two slabs of the foundations, so that is called strap footing. Means two foundations are connected by smaller element of slab or by beam, so that is called strap footing. And if both the footings first of all connected with beam, then separated to the soil, so that is a foundation beam footing. These all types are the examples of combined footing. Now why we provide the pile footing? So when the soil capacity or the soil conditions under the footing is weak, so to get the higher or the strong strata under deeper depths, we provide the piles. And when we provide the piles in the soil, then at the top of the piles we provide a slab which connect all the piles, and on the pile cap we construct our column. So that is the theory of pile cap footing. In case the isolated column footing for a building come closer to each other and reinforcement is required on both top and bottom of the pad, it is advantageous to combine all the footings in the farm. It means what is saying, if the load is higher and your spread of footing is large and the reinforcement is coming large, means at top and bottom, so it is good to provide the raft, mat or floating foundation. What is floating foundation I will discuss. The raft may be a base slab of constant thickness or slab supported by foundation beams at column center line. Raft is also effective in reducing the chances of differential settlement of different parts of the building. Okay, here what is raft or mat? Here is we provide a constant thickness, means heavy thickness slab at bottom at the foundation level, and then from that we construct our columns on that slab. So that is called mat or raft footing. And here is first of all some constant thickness slab is provided, and on that we provided the beams, then beams, heavy thickness beam, and on that beams we construct the columns. Okay, so this is again the raft footing with beams. Now what is the floating foundation? The word is floating foundation. Sometimes under the footing there is a water table or soil conditions are very weak, means under one column soil conditions are very weak, so we provide mat or raft footing. It covers the both purposes. If there is an underwater table, so it will not sink. Okay, the raft footing will not sink, it will float on that water table, and the water will not enter into the raft foundation. Why? Because concrete is water resistant, so it will not allow the water to pass into the raft footing. So the second condition for providing the raft or mat, that is if the soil conditions under one column is weak, so it is now this slab is act as a one unit. If under one element column the soil conditions are weak, then the other slab will try to bring its into its original position and will not allow to settle on that weak condition. So that is also the one purpose of providing the mat or raft foundation, so that to avoid the differential settlement. Now there is other one type, that is a grid or grillage foundation. In that we here where the column is needed, we provide the footing pad, and then this footing pad connected with the other column footings. So that's how in this manner we form a grid or grillage foundation in a plan. A bridge footing. Sometimes under the footing there is some, you can say, a riverbed, or you can say some channel or water flowing, so you cannot construct at that location the footing, or maybe in future they restrict that you can't construct on this water body or drainage path, so you can construct at that location bridge footing. Okay, make a bridge and connect with beam, and that footing is called bridge footing. Bearing pressure. When structure load are concentrically applied on the isolated footings, the bearing stresses are not actually uniformly distributed over the area of the footing due to deflected shape of the foundation and uneven behavior of the soil underneath. What is saying here? Here is a stress distribution under the footing. When there is a clay soil, mean cohesive soils, here is a actual distribution of soil pressure under the footing. Okay, and here is the actual distribution for the granular soil, mean for the sandy soil. Here means at the center there will be more pressure and less at the side, and what we assume for the design that we take at is a constant pressure. So why there is a more at the center and less at the sides, and why it's more at less at the center and why it's more at the edges, here is the reason. 9.2a and 9.2b. Cohesive soils produce shear resistance at edges of the footing, means clay soil, means provide the shear resistance at the edges of footing, and hence more bearing pressure is developed near the perimeter as compared with the bearing pressure inside of the footing. You got the reason? Now in the granular or in the sandy soil. In case of granular soil, the soil particles near the end of the foundation tend to slide towards the less, means when pressure comes, then the sand particles try to escape from the sides. So the remaining center sandy particles will remain their position and take the major load. Okay, so that is a 9.2b. But for the calculations we will assume this constant distribution. Allowable bearing capacity. The allowable bearing capacity of soil denoted by QA at a certain level, means at whichever location you are going to construct your foundation, means from the ground level 1 meter below, 2 meter below, 2.5 meter below. So the allowable bearing capacity of soil denoted by QA at certain level is defined as the amount of maximum external uniform pressure that may be applied with sufficient margin of safety against failure of soil and against excessive settlement. Means allowable bearing capacity is that capacity of the soil, means the it will not fail the soil. Second, there will be no excessive settlement. Two conditions. Here is the approximate allowable bearing capacities if you do not have the calculations or geotechnical report for the design of buildings or any structure. So you can carry out the calculations by using this approximate allowable bearing capacities. Here is a solid crystalline bedrock allowable bearing capacity in kPa 10,700 kPa, and in ton per square feet that is 100. Similarly here clay mixture with sand and gravel 215 in kPa, 2 ton per square feet in FPS. And if there is soil organic material, means free materials or roots of trees are present in the soil, and the soil have a high plasticity, so you have to carry out the detailed investigation, or you have to go for the deep foundation, that is a pile cap footing. The allowable settlement, the chances of differential settlement and the required factor of safety are also important factors in the final establishment of bearing capacity. So we have to also take care the allowable settlement. Okay, so the allowable settlement that is given in different books. For isolated or spread footing, the allowable settlement that is 25 millimeter, that is 1 inch. And for the mat or raft foundation, that is 2 inch, means 50 millimeter. The factor of safety against the rupture/failure of soil is taken from 2 to 3. The most common value is usually equal to 3 that we use for the allowable bearing capacity. Net contact pressure. The pressure at the contact surface of the foundation with the soil is obtained by the total foundation load with the area of the footing. At the location where the soil and the foundation bottom level are intersecting or connecting with each other, at that part, that is a net contact pressure. However, the load directly acts over the foundation slab counteracts the contact pressure up to certain extent. This reduced pressure to be used for the structure design of the foundation components is called net contact pressure. When we go for calculations, we will use this term net contact pressure, whose unfactored value is denoted by Qn and factored value is denoted by Qu. Here is the formula for the getting the size of how we calculate the size of the footing in the plan. For concentrically loaded footings, the required area is determined as, this is the basic stress formula, means load over area is equal to stress. So here is that is QA, that is a bearing pressure, allowable bearing pressure, that is a stress, area and load. So applied load that we get from the superstructure, there whatsoever the load is coming to the foundation, that is the applied load, and that is the soil allowable bearing capacity. We get the required area of foundation. After sizing the foundation, means that after we getting the area of foundation, the factored contact pressure is calculated by usual factor load combinations, and design is carried out according to these factors. We get the area required without using factors, and after we getting the area required for the footing, then we use the factors, that is saying. So when we go for the example, you will get the more idea how we get the required area of footing, and after that how we use the factored loads. That is, again, in some footings there is chances of overturning. To check the overturning of foundation, only those parts of the loads causing overturning should be included. And how to avoid this overturning? We increase the self weight of the footing so that it will not tilt or overturn. These must be balanced by dead load multiplied with 0.9 factor of safety, maintaining a minimum factor of safety against overturning of 1.5. Means whatsoever the dead load we will consider, we will multiply with 0.9 as a factor of safety, and the overturning, just like how much factor of safety will be there to avoid the overturning of foundation, that is 1.5.